What's up, everyone? I am back, Kevin Allen, aka the Geek, to break down or to do a tutorial setting up the Domination Station to run NFL lineups for the wildcard weekend. Part of the reason I'm doing this is, listen, I'm doing this live. So the idea is a Q&A, a live stream, where I can show you guys how I set up the Domination Station to create stacked NFL lineups for a short slate. We're going to talk about the slate a little bit. We're going to talk about the players a little bit. We've done a lot of that already. We had the Wolfpack pod. It was awesome. Bobby Clinks, Statsational. Everybody was there. It was amazing. Really good one. So check that out. I did the Players Club this afternoon as well. So we really looked at these games quite a bit. Obviously, the Geeks Picks sheet is out and live. So we've got a pretty good breakdown. Not a whole lot of news to report. Not a whole lot of news to report on the slate. So for the most part, we have a pretty good idea, and we can actually make our lineups now, set them up for the weekend. Now, again, there's going to be a live demo. We're going to kind of do this as a show me how to work this thing approach. And I had asked in Slack what you guys want to do. Everybody suggested NFL. Saturday, main, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday. It's funny. Everybody suggested Fanduel. Buffalo's got his prune juice and Crevassier going. Nice. I got a little hot drink. My throat's been a little crazy, so forgive me if I take a sip once in a while. It's hard to talk for this much time. But what we're going to do is set up the Domination Station to create stacked NFL lineups. I will keep an eye on the chat, try to answer questions. And what I'm hoping you guys are doing is have two screens or some shit where you can also start to set up the Dom Station for stacked lineups. Now, one thing about a 4-game slate, and we're even going to get the 2-game slates. We're not going to do them here, but the most exciting and the funnest ones are the 2-gamers that we have, because we can really get crazy going up against sort of some game theory and, some crazy fades, some crazy players that are going to be way too high owned. So there's a lot of that as well that we could talk about. But the focus here is going to be the 4-gamer, and mainly because it gives us a reason to sort of look at like a medium-sized slate. We're going to have a couple of these 4-game slates over the next couple of weeks. We'll have some 6 of them, 6 2-gamers over the next 3 weeks. So I love the NFL playoffs. One of the things we can count on is every team's pretty much playing to their peak. Less turds, Buffo on the beat. Not going to have a Steve Sims Jr. as likely on this slate, although we're going to try to identify what we can. So let's get rolling. Now, I'm going to start with the basics. We're going to start with the basics. You won't have me on the screen. You don't need me on the screen. Let's go full screen. All right. I'm going to start with the basics. Getting the initial setup. So for anybody that hasn't done it yet, we updated the Domination Station on Wednesday. You need to clear your cache to work it, right? You got these beautiful team logos now. And one of the best things we did, and anybody who's used the stacking system so far is going to understand why this is so awesome, is we moved the stacking above the filter for all of the lineups and the filter for the basically the lineup. So essentially what we did was set it up so that you don't have to scroll all the way past all of your stacks in order to adjust the player pool. It's a huge difference. It's just one of those things that you figure out when you start to play. So let's start getting our stuff going. Now, as you guys know, we're going to be building 150 lineups. So set lineups to 150. Just looking if we need anything. Now, John Statsational had a really sharp idea where he said, if you're trying to win one of these, you should leave some salary on the table, because you're going to tie with a lot of people if you hit exactly 60K. Now, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do that in the 2-game slate. I'm not sure I'm quite wanting to do it in the 4-gamer, but there's nothing wrong, even if you wanted to set it a full 1,000 below salary or something like that, that will increase your odds of having a unique lineup. Now, a couple other settings I'm going to mess with here. We always leave DFS Army projections. That's why you're here. Best projections in the game. Right? But uniques. So 4 games. I'm going to set it to 2 uniques for now. We're going to see how that looks. I'm going to allow 2 players versus defense. Now, just as a hint for the 2-game slates. There he is. What's up, Bobby? Just as a hint for the 2-game slates. In that, I will increase this to allowing 3 players versus defense. These are players versus defense. Okay, always set it to server-side optimization. That makes it run faster. 150 lineups. Now, I'm going back up to 60K, so we're just going to run it normal. Now, a lot of times I tell you, limit the number of tight ends in the flex. I'm not ready to make that call just yet. So let's get started by going through the player pool and just getting a quick look at the best values, right? And you've already seen the sheet. We've already covered this, but I just want to go over it again. Who's our best value? Well, Drew Brees by far is the highest projected player at quarterback, both on a points per dollar basis and also on a raw projection basis. He's the most expensive. He's at home. He's in a great spot. Everybody knows we should be excited about Drew Brees. Next up is Josh Allen. He's probably underpriced for his role. We've got him projected above Deshaun Watson, who costs a little bit more. So this is your basic order, and I don't mind it. Now, a couple of strategic fades or plays, I would say, like, do I have a strategic fade? We'll be lower. I'll be lower on Deshaun Watson than the field. I'll be lower on Ryan Tannehill, maybe than the field might think we should be. So those are a couple of potential. Mark, can you get a cash lineup on a 4-game slate? That's not what we're here to do. We're here to set it up to mass multi-enter and set up for 150 lineups. Cash lineup, it's another story. Vince, randomization, it's like such a preference. It doesn't matter that much. You can go 5. I usually just leave it at like 5%, but 10% is fine in NFL. It's a lot of it's a high variance sport. You don't have to use randomization either, by the way. You don't have to use it. So I'm gonna we'll set it. I don't like to use it when I'm setting up the DOM too high, because every click of the button actually produces a different set of lineups. I don't like that. So again, I don't know why the hell this went back to 3. That was weird. I don't like that. And here we go. Why the fuck did that go back to 3? Let's start making lineups, guys. Okay, so 2 uniques, max 3, 150 lineups. We're good to go. Now, the first thing we're going to do is start setting up our stacking rules. Now, one of the things I said coming into this was, I don't want to get too crazy with the stacks. Stacks will happen naturally, game stacks and team stacks. So we're going to go a player-by-player basis, and we're going to start with Drew Brees, one of our favorite players on the slate. And again, we are set for, 150. So we've got 150 lineups to disperse. There are 8 quarterbacks to choose from. Drew Brees is the best of them. He'll also be very high owned, but he's the best of the group. So let's set him for 25 lineups. Okay. And I'm just going to do team stacks. And part of the thing is, I think you want to get 2 players in with him in these stacks, not just one. So Michael Thomas will be pretty standard. Latavius Murray is not positively correlated with Drew Brees, so I'm going to set him at 0. And then all these other fucking turds. And sadly, I'm not even sure if I want to force the second turd in here, but we don't have much choice. So I'm actually going to do 15. Let's go 20. It's very tough to double stack Drew Brees, because really, who do you want as that second guy? Jared Cook? Hill? Meh. Ginn? All terrible. All terrible. I don't even know who this guy is. Let's zero him out. So that's Drew Brees, 20 lineups. And that's it. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do 15 team stacks, and then we'll do another 10 Drew Brees game stacks. Now, the reason I'm doing two different ones, I always shut down secondary stacks when I use game stacks, but the reason I'm doing a second one is just if Drew Brees is having his best game, then he's probably having a back and forth affair where he's forcing the action. It's not a lock that that's happening, but it could be. Ben, you don't have to turn it off, the universal rule. I don't think it needs to be used, but no, I wouldn't turn it off. I would leave it on. Leave the universal rule in place. So in the game stacks, we're going to use the correlation boost and limit it to 2. I'm going to force 2 from Breeze and limit 2 from the opposing team. So the reason I'm forcing 2 from Breeze is because I actually think what's going to end up happening is we're going to get everything Kamara and Thomas, and I don't really like that. So I'm going to limit Kamara to 50% here. I'm going to do that up here as well. I don't really like that much Kamara with Breeze. So I'm going to limit it to 40%. I want to force it to mix Michael Thomas in with some of these other players. All right, so that's our Drew Brees stack. We're just getting set up with the stacks first, and then we'll start to mess with the player pool. So next up, Deshaun Watson, going to probably be a strategic fade. And by strategic fade, Watson is projected to be about 30% owned. I'm not a big fan of him this weekend at all. I'll still use a couple shares. Let's go 10 game stacks. I don't love Deshaun Watson, but I really don't. These are all terrible. But Watson and maybe one of his tight ends, like a Darren Fells, that's, I think, the best possible combination. I mean, you don't want too much of these guys. And then we'll mix it. We'll bring it back with somebody from the other team. So got the correlation boost on. That's Deshaun Watson. Just five. Very few. Okay. My next favorite. I'm not ready to uncheck him. I'm not ready to go 0. That's a Bobby move. Going 0. Do a little bit. But technically, I might end up going 0. I'm just doing this for the purpose of demonstration. So now we have Josh Allen. We like Josh Allen. I like Josh Allen. He can be team and game stacks. So let's do 15 team stacks with Josh Allen. Correlation boost. I want him with one player at least, but possibly 2. The hard part with him is you look at the players and it's like, all right, who would I actually want stack with Josh Allen? Well, Brown or Beasley. Devin Singletary is not positively correlated to him, so I don't really consider him somebody I'm dying to stack with. I don't want to avoid it completely, but he's not somebody I'm dying to stack with. Josh Brown, Knox, Foster's terrible, Croft is terrible. So it's going to be a lot of Brown, Beasley, Singletary, and maybe Knox. Those are team stacks. Let's do another 10 as game stacks. Another 10 is game stack. So let's go back to Josh Allen here. And I might have to readjust. I'm trying to remember how many of these like the total number. I'll go back and change this. So yeah, the Players Club. WK's asked about the Players Club. Yes, of course. These every podcast I do, every video shows up as a post, like an article on dfsarmy.com. So you just go to DFS Army, click on NFL. You'll see the Wolf Pack is there. The Players Club is there. Even this video will make its way there as well. Yeah, no NBA. Let's forget about NBA. Let's forget about Jason Tatum. Channing Tatum. Think about Channing and Magic Mike. Good-looking guy. All right, this one's going to be game stack. So we did 15 team. Notice I'm using the quarterbacks. I'm doing some team stacking, some game stacking. Get a little mix. Mixing it up. Mixing it up a little bit. All right, here we go. We're just getting started. I don't want more than 2 from each team. Great. Who else do we like at quarterback? Carson Wentz. Yes. All right. Let's do 15 game stacks. Who is not correlated with Carson Wentz? Jordan Howard. 0 him. JJ Arcega. We don't even need to zero these guys out. They're not really going to show up. They're crap. They're garbage players. Lockett, Metcalf, Homer. Yeah, every one of these is playable for their salary, so we'll keep it going. Wentz. Let's do some with Russell Wilson. I really like Wilson. Some of the salaries on Fanduel are much cheaper than on DraftKings. So that's a nice thing. Like, let me just go to the player pool. It's down here now. All right. If you look at this player pool, especially wide receiver, like Thielen 6,200. What? Metcalf 6,200. What? So we're gonna get a lot of these guys because they're way underpriced. Diggs 7,300. Hold on. Sort by salary. So yeah, you've got some real cheapies. Thielen, Metcalf, crazy. So we're gonna end up with some interesting lineups. No, Corey Davis is not cash playable, Pablo. No. Corey Davis is GPP playable. Definitely not cash. He hasn't done shit all year. What I keep hearing his name. I mean, if he does something tomorrow, I will lose my mind. Like, what has Corey Davis done this year? I get that his matchup is also bad. It's not like AJ Brown has a tough matchup. Stephon Gilmore. This guy's going to be covered by Devin McCourty. Probably. That's also a tough matchup. So no, I'm not doing that in cash. No. If we're talking FanDuel cash, you can get with some of this area here: Metcalf, Thielen, Beasley, Brown, Edelman, this whole group. And of course, you got to play Michael Thomas. You got to lock him in your cash lineup. The easiest way to find your cash lineup is just to do this, guys. I mean, surprised at how low Thielen is projected, but generally the top points per dollar plays are who you want to play in cash. So you just do that, and you're like, oh, Kamara, Singletary, Cook, Miles Sanders, fine. That's how you find your cash. You do, Alex. You do. That's Kanger or different Alex, but yes, Taysom Hill is playable on FanDuel. He could get a touchdown. Don't get a lot of it, but yeah, he could score a touchdown. No doubt. No doubt. All right, that's Russell Wilson. Next up, who else? Got Breeze, got Watson, we got Wentz, we got Wilson, we got Josh Allen. Now we get to the Turdleys here. Tannehill, Cousins, Brady. I don't want Tannehill almost at all. Cousins, though, we're going to get some exposure to. He's got really cheap stack partners. It's very easy to game stack it. So that's going to be a game stack situation. Again, I'm not done setting my exposures. Elsie's asking about the Saturday 2-gamer. You don't even need to do it. Just do team stacks because the game stacks will happen naturally. You understand? Like, there's no reason. When you run team stacks, it's just going to give you game stacks, and you don't want to do too many limits on a 2-game slate because weird shit will happen. So the more rules you put in, the more weird shit will happen. I mean, again, these two guys are both fucking turds. I refuse to give an answer. I'm looking at it. We got some. Normally, we don't get projected ownerships for a very, very short slate, but we did get some. So I'm gonna ask and say I got to look at our actual data feed from the people that provide us with ownerships and see what the story is. But we'll get some ownerships going in here one way or another. Okay, where am I? 15 lineups, Kirk Cousins, game stacks, correlation boost. What correlation boost does, just to explain, because I don't want to move too quickly. I'm going to move through this quite a bit once we start to run lineups. But what correlation boost does is it literally just jacks up everybody's projections here within the stack exclusively by 30%. And the reason I do it is just to get a more natural, distribution of players within my stacks, within my lineup. So I don't have to say force 2 players, because with a 30% boost, you would expect that 2 of these players would stand out as good plays and would just pop. Do the Titans have any hope this weekend? Yeah. Yeah, it's a close game. Can I play Perkins and Thielen in GPPs? Yes. As long as Ertz isn't playing, Perkins is absolutely in play and has nothing to do with Thielen. Thielen is definitely playable. Thielen's a very good play. He's way underpriced here. So he's underpriced like crazy on Fanduel. I can't even understand it. So yeah, you could definitely play that. Now, again, I got the boost going. That's Kirk Cousins. Who's next? Let's do a little Tom Brady. This is where I don't like him as much. And again, I'm going to adjust my exposures a little later. I'm just kind of doing 15 on everybody so I can get a feel for how many. I got to count them up at the end. I didn't pre-plan the numbers. So I'll do another 15 on Brady. I think you've got to play Brady with 2 players. He's not getting there if it's just one. Most of our Brady lineups are going to be Edelman and James White. But it could be Edelman, Sanu, and different mixes. So look at all these players. This is why it's tough to play Brady. Like, look at all these people. Are you fucking kidding me? Now, I don't think Brady needs to be game stacked. So if you want 10, I'm just fading Tannehill for now. All right, let's go back. I'm just going to count them up: 15, 30, 45, 60, 70, 85, 95, 105, 120. In the 2-gamer, I would do 1 or 2 uniques max. Probably 1 unique. With A.J. Brown, I think he's very fadeable. He's going to be covered by Stephon Gilmore. He's not a priority at all. It's very difficult on DraftKings to actually afford a lot of these things. So you have to. DraftKings is really interesting because you're kind of forced to fade, especially if you want to play Michael Thomas, who's better, by far and away the best wide receiver on the slate. All right, before I go through the player list, I'm going to give it one optimization run just to make sure everything's working as it's supposed to. Right? So I always give it a run without doing too much tweaking. You haven't seen me like or dislike anybody yet. Haven't adjusted any sort of projection for anybody yet. Right? I'm just giving it a run. I set up some stacks. I left them natural. So we'll set up a run. There's a lot to do. Let's see what happens. No whammies. It's live. All right, so let's just look at the first couple lineups. You got a Breeze, Thomas, Kamara lineup with a secondary stack of Singletary and Brown. You got some garbage in here. Goddard to tight end. So that looks pretty good. Interesting top lineup. I'm surprised that Duke Johnson made his way in here. It spends the whole salary. What? Oh, because you've got 2 expensive players. Interesting. Now, let's see what a natural run did and what it gave us. Thomas, 100%. A lot of John Brown. Devin Singletary, very, very heavy exposure. Way too much Duke Johnson. No. Where's DFS up north? He wants Duke Johnson in there. Yes, I would say max 3 against defense in the 2-gamer. Absolutely. Miles Sanders, I like. All right. Dalvin Cook is fine. So let's just go through position by position here. Like, I'm already seeing this is way too much Duke Johnson for me. I don't really want more than 5% exposure to him. So I slap a 5% max on him, and we'll just deal with it like that. Sony Michel's a little light, but let's see what happens when we're not able to punt to Duke Johnson on the next run. Here we go. So another way too high exposure situation with John Brown. I like John Brown, don't get me wrong, but that's a lot. Let's see what else. Not enough Metcalf, not enough of some of these other guys. So we're going to have a lot of adjusting to do, a lot of explaining to do. Let's see a tight end what we got. A lot of Goddard, that's cool. A little bit of Hollister, a little bit of Dolph. It's fine. All right. Defense. That's a lot of Seattle, not a lot of New England. Interesting. All right, let me go to my cheat sheet and see what the hell I said on some of these players. Because now I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? I got no Derrick Henry. That's interesting. Now, that projection for John Brown is just too high. So it's going to jam him into every lineup, and I don't like that. So first thing we're going to do, I'm going to slap a dislike on him. Just get that projection down a little bit, down closer to like other people in his salary range. Because if I don't, he's going to end up in every single lineup. Yeah, there we go. That's a little better. Edelman, I like. Beasley, I like. Ward is fine. Thielen is great. Hopkins, Lockett. I like Lockett a little bit more than what my exposure shows. DK Metcalf, I like a little bit more than what this exposure is showing. Let's see what our stack combos look like. That's not bad. Thomas, Drew Brees game stack. Cook and Thielen, Cook and Thielen, Cook and Randolph. It's a lot of Dalvin Cook. All right, so what I do after we set these up is we go back and say, all right, my Drew Brees game stacks have Adam Thielen like every lineup. So this is the Drew Brees one, right? So let's set a limit of him on like 60% of these because I want to mix them up. I want them mixed up a little bit. Now we got a lot of, who did we want to fade? We want to fade DeAndre Hopkins a little bit. We want to fade, I want a little bit more Tyler Lockett. I want a little bit more DK Metcalf. He's so cheap. He scores touchdowns. It's way too much Devin Singletary. Singletary's underpriced, but that doesn't mean I want 75% exposure to a guy that isn't prone to putting up very big scores. Pablo's asking, both those defenses are in play. I don't have a preference between Seattle and I don't have a big preference here. Take your guess on defense. I don't know. I think the Patriots are the best play. I think Eagles are playable. I'd probably like Eagles more than the two that you just showed, Pablo. Henry going to smash, according to John Gary. He might. You never know. You never know. The thing with Henry is, 9,300. He better fucking smash. Better smash. I'm going to take a quick look at some ownerships here. Singletary. So Singletary about 55% projected. Kamara about 50%. Goddard 50%. John Brown up there. Derrick Henry's projecting for around 20 to 25% ownership on the slate. There it is. Henry about 20%. So he's not going to be high owned. Not going to be super high owned. Not at this price. Not going to be super high owned. I'm going to set a max limit here. Texans. Yeah, I want some Bills. I want some Eagles. I want some Patriots. All right. Now I've made a couple of adjustments. I've set a few max limits. Let's give it another run. Interesting, Isaiah McKenzie. All right, so let's see. What the hell? Yeah, no. This is so every time you run it, you got to observe who's popping, who's not popping. Like Isaiah McKenzie, a trash player just popped up. I'm not interested in him, so I'm going to set a max limit of 2% on him. I don't understand why I'm not getting more Adam Thielen, so I'm going to go to 11.25 on him, jack up that projection a little bit. Again, I don't understand why I'm not getting enough DK Metcalf, so I'm going to jack up his projection as well. David Moore, I like. Teddy Ginn Jr., that's fine. Let's get a little more Tyler Lockett going. Actually, let's take a look at our quarterback numbers. All right, already I see an issue. So if I've got 10% Drew Brees lineups, I don't want 40% of them to be Michael Thomas to Ted Ginn Jr. I mean, 15% of those max. I mean, how many is 150? 15% max for that combination. I want different combos. So, yeah, 15% max. Let's set on that. We can actually look at these combinations and create limits. So here's a Thomas Kamara, Cook, Thielen. Okay. Still too much Cook. So my Drew Brees game stacks, I'm going up to deal with that. I like a lot of Cook. This is the game stack, right? I like Cook, but let's say he doesn't have a great game. Then I'm stuck with all my stacks having this guy. So I'm going to set it to 65%, set a max on him. This is the current version of the Domination Station, Mr. Hidden Stash. We went live with an update on Wednesday, and this is it. So we are on the live server. Remember to clear your cache if you're using it. I trust Miles Sanders. You know what? Fuck it. He looks amazing. It's a great matchup. No one wants to play him. Sanders has been hurt. Sanders was hurt when Scott did his thing, but you know what? I'm going back to Sanders. I can't trust Scott. It doesn't mean I want to load up on Sanders. Normally, if I knew Sanders was getting a full workload, I would be all in on him. Like, he's one of the best plays, but now that he is going to split and Scott will be out there. So, but yeah, I like Sanders. Why not? Why not? So I'm just looking at these different combinations. We set a limit. McKenzie. I mean, a triple stack? I don't like it. Brown, Beasley. Too much Brown, Beasley. Too much double and triple stacking here. You know what? I'm not comfortable with it. So, Josh Allen, here's the deal with Josh Allen. He can run one in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off correlation boost, and I'm just going to leave it be. I think those are too many. I don't want to go crazy with the if Sanders got the illness, man, I'm out. No. If he gets that illness. No, I definitely don't trust Sanders significantly. I'm just saying I'm playing him. I don't trust him. I'm playing him. It's a 4-game slate. Got to play him. You want this guy to break the slate open? I mean, if he was a game time decision, then no, I wouldn't play him. Like if I'll still wait and listen, but I mean, they took off his injury designation. I'm not a fucking doctor. What the hell do I know? If he says he could play, he could play. I don't know. Could he get hurt in game? Sure. I mean, a lot of things can happen. All right, still going through these stack combinations. I just like to look these over. So we just fixed that one. Sanders, Goddard. Yeah, this looks good. Sanders. All right, so here's another thing. When you look at your stack combos, that's the danger. So let's go up to Wentz. And you see that Wentz is being stacked with Sanders like all the time. I don't like it. So, I can do 35%. But if he's doing well, it's probably going to be some of these other guys involved. So we'll see how that goes. We'll set a limit. Who else? Hollister. Way too much Hollister. There's another one. All right, so now let's go to Wilson. I don't want that much Hollister. So you got to check every single stack, guys. I know it's annoying if you have the correlation boost on. Even this one doesn't even have one, but like Marshawn Lynch, he's not positively correlated, so we're gonna X him out. Hollister, he's just not that good, so I don't want that much of him. So 35% seems like plenty, and I don't know who this guy is, so I'll set him at 0. And these other people, they all catch passes, so I want most of my Wilson lineups to be Lockett, Metcalf, maybe a sprinkle of Hollister mixed in, but mostly Lockett and Metcalf. Put him over Hosmer. Make sure that he's out pointing Hosmer. And Hosmer's not a player, again, I don't love him, so I'll limit him to 20% as well. All right, we've made some adjustments. Let's give this bad boy another run. And this is how the process works, guys. Set up your stacks, and then you kind of look at each stack individually and modify those exposures. The next thing I have to do is really look at my total number of lineups and see if I want to add another quarterback or go heavier on some of them. Like when I start to look over here, I could be like, all right, so I've got 31% Breeze, 21% Allen, and here are our exposures, right? And so looking at this, I can modify it a little bit. This is a good question, LC. Could we? Yes. Should we? Is it a little too much? Possibly. So basically, what we're banking on is, Allen sometimes rushes for a touchdown, so we could play him and not have to double stack him. We could play him and not have to double stack him. Here we go. Wait, I got a visitor. Get over here. Ugh. We could play him and not. I did that for you, Bobby. I put the camera on. Cat's here. Where are you going? What was I saying? Yeah, you can. So my whole thing with Allen is like he can run one in, so we don't need him with 2. That's the whole thing. We can go with 2, but we don't need him with 2. You can play him with just 1. So that's why I'm not going to force it. If it happens, it happens, but I don't want that in every single lineup. What? This is not happening. No. Okay. All right, I'm back. All right, we just did another run of the optimizer, try to see kind of some of these combinations. And again, When I set one limit, another one goes crazy. Thomas and Cook, 46%. I don't want that much. So I'll set that to a limit of 20% of my Breeze team stacks. It will find some other combination. Jordan Akins. A lot of Jordan Akins. I like Fells over Akins. Yeah, you're getting weird-ass stacks here. Not enough DeAndre Hopkins at all. That's interesting. So, again, when you narrow it down like this, you can really go through every single one. Now, if I'm playing Deshaun Watson, I probably want to almost lock in Hopkins, and I want lots of Kenny Still. So, like, yeah, do I love these players in the main pool? No, but if I'm playing their quarterback, that's my quarterback. These are the guys I want a lot of. So, yeah, and I prefer Fells to Akins, although I'll do a little bit of each. God. Well, let's take another look at this player pool again, because I wasn't super happy with what I was seeing here. So, it's not coming out the way I'm sort of envisioning. So, yeah, that's a lot of Miles Sanders, a lot of Kamara. All right. Where are you, Bobby C? Kamara. You guys can chime in. But 70% Kamara. If he doesn't score a touchdown, and this is FanDuel, he's not making value. So I'm gonna limit him to 45%. He's gonna be super high owned, right? Same thing with Sanders. Listen, I like Sanders. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to stake my whole day on a guy like that. So let's send him to 35%. Dalvin Cook, I like. Sure. Sony Michel, I'm going to get a little more of him. You never know when Sony Michel goes off. Raise that up a little bit. Lats Murray, that's fine. Duke Johnson, that's fine. So I'm just fine-tuning the exposures here. I want a little bit more of certain guys. A little bit less of some other ones. Same deal here with the main player pool. I lowered the projection of John Brown, and it brought him down to kind of like exposure with the rest of my players, right? Got a little bit more, getting a little bit better spread here of exposures. Kenny Stills is fine. Corey Davis. I don't mind Corey Davis, guys. I'm hearing so much Corey Davis that at some point it's like, this guy fucking sucks. Why is everybody talking about him? I don't get it. Stephon Diggs is an explosive guy, so I want to get some exposure there. Back to tight end. Yeah, a lot of Goddard. I mean, I don't love Rudolph. Jared Cook, only 5%. Okay. Probably want a little bit more of that. So, defense, just go through position by position. Guys, any questions? There he is. So that's what Bobby's saying, and I agree. I mean, you're going to get 75% ownership. Let me get a number here. Hold on. I'll get you some numbers for my personal vault. I mean, Kamara, about 50 to 55% owned on FanDuel. So, if you want to go under, you got to be under 50%. Now, there's a couple of different ways to look at going under, right? You can go under, get the face in there, heart to heart. You can go under by saying, fuck it, I'm not playing any of this guy, right? I'm just going fade it. Vultures and turds are not the same thing, but they do. Turds are the ones who vulture. What was I saying? Fade it. What does fade it mean? If Kamara is going to be 50% owned, then we want to be either over or under the market on our exposure to Kamara. So if you want to play your run and say, you know what, Kamara doesn't get a touchdown and he doesn't make value, or two other running backs do better than him, then you want to go under. Now, how far under you want to go? That's the choice that you make. You could say, hey, I'm gonna lock this guy down for 35%. I'm gonna go way under the market. You can say, I want to go way over the market on him because I love Kamara. Like, I'll give you the opposite. How do you get over the market on Michael Thomas? The guy is going to be 70%. So you'd either have to go all in or be below 70%. Now, normally the sharper play with a wide receiver who's chalk is just to go under the market. We'll see if we do that in the end. But, there's no better play than Michael Thomas. Here we go. All right, so we just did another run, and let's see where we're at. Getting a little more Dallas Goedert, going to be the chalk tight end play. Let's see where we are on defense. It's a lot of Eagles. I don't want more than 20% of any defense at all. I might even go lower, like 15% on these guys, a road defense. Tennessee, I don't like this one at all. I'm going to 5% here. I'm going to start forcing some Patriots exposure. So that'll note what I do. You got to always leave one at 100%, or it's not going to work. Listen, Dalvin Cook, I really like Dalvin Cook. I think Dalvin Cook is going to go under-owned. He's going to get all the work. It's not a good matchup for him. We know this. It's not a great matchup, but so what? This is too much Lats Murray for me. Dalvin Cook's going to get all the work. So, like, he catches a bunch of... He's going to need a touchdown. This is Fanduel. We're trying to bet on who will score a touchdown. So, on Fanduel, I like him even less. But if we can afford somebody like Dalvin Cook, then, we got to get some exposure. Now, one thing I'm noticing, I have zero exposure to Derrick Henry. That is not on purpose. That's just projection-based, which is crazy. I don't even see where... Yeah, that's just projection. Now, I don't like Henry. I'm very comfortable being underweight on him in the sense that I think the field will have a lot of exposure to him. And, it's not somebody that projects really, really well against the Patriots. I don't like this game. I prefer the Sunday games by a lot. But all that being said, I might want to get a little bit of exposure to the guy just in case. So, Sony Michel, let's slap an Adore on him as well. He's just not popping enough for me. James White, interestingly, is popping all over the place. Let's see here, Carlos Hyde, not my favorite play, but not terrible. I want a little Carlos Hyde as well. So we're going to get him over Lats Murray anyway. Boston Rob, sure. And get a little exposure to him for tournament purposes. A little Boston Scott, just in case Miles Sanders re-injures himself. We want to get a little exposure to some of these guys. Even Marshawn Lynch, you want to get a little bit. So if I just want a little exposure to a guy in case he gets a miracle touchdown, I can also do that. I can just set a min of 5%. I already said I want a little bit of exposure to Rex Burkhead in case he becomes the man. So let's set an 8% min on him, right? Some of this is just about making sure I get exposure to certain players. It's amazing. I mean, A.J. Brown's pretty cheap. DK Metcalf, salary is way too low. Projection is way too low for him. Thielen, the natural projections is way too low. So I think we'll get a little more of these guys now. Hopkins, I don't mind now that there's no one else. I don't love Hopkins, by the way. I'm not going to get a lot of exposure to him, but I want a little bit. So we're just giving it another run. Guys, any questions so far? Hit me with questions if you're using the Dom right now, and if you're kind of doing something and you're not sure how to get something going, this is the time to ask a question. Now, as we're running it, time between each run. Let's look through this. I'm going to do this I got all night. because I'm going to do this for this slate. I'm going to do it for the 2-game slates. And then I got to jump over to DraftKings and do it also. It can be crazy. The one that I'm not doing today is the Sunday 2-gamer because we'll just do that tomorrow. We'll do that on Saturday. All right, here's a nice lineup. So let's look at a completed lineup here. One of the top completed lineups. Breeze, Kamara, Thomas, come back with Rudolph. Okay. Miles Sanders, Metcalf, Beasley as one-offs. Titans defense, yuck. And Devin Singletary. A good all-around lineup. Saints. Why aren't they showing up? Vikings, I don't like. I'm going to uncheck you. I'm not playing the Vikings defense. I don't mind the Saints. Play them. So we'll get a little more exposure to those guys. It's amazing. Just wants to pay down. Get a little more spread going here. I want a little more exposure to Jared Cook. Takes a long time to get these exposures where you want them. That's too much DK Metcalf now. So maybe I've got him too high. So we're going to go. I like DK Metcalf, but not that much. Edelman, I like more than what he's showing here. So let's go 5-9. I'm just raising it up. Guys who I want a little bit more of, raise it up. A little lower if I don't want a little more exposure. Here's Corey Davis. There's your boy. If you want to know who's going to break the slate open tomorrow, my turd's at. Guys, while we're here. Wait, did I forget to make Tom Brady lineups? Hold up. Did I forget to? No, I got some. Hey, I got some Tom Brady. Come on now. Tom Brady's been shit all year. I got some Tom Brady. I got some T-Brad. All right, so one of the things I noticed is when I added up my total, 15, 30, 45, 60, 70, 85, 95, 105, 120, I've got more lineups to allocate, right? So 120. I can force in some more stacks. So I can do some other things. It means with the number of quarterbacks that I've chosen, I can raise it up a little bit. So I can change this to 20. I can change this to 15. Who's my favorite? We like Josh Allen a lot, right? So I can change this to 20. Game stacks I can change to 15. That just added another 20, 120, 140. And then we'll let the last 10 just float. So let's do one more run. Can Tom go over 300 against the Titans? Titans secondary is not good, but Tom Brady hasn't gone over 300 just in forever. He hasn't gone over 300 in forever. So can he get there? No, but he's the cheapest guy. If you look at Brady, he doesn't have to have the most points. He's the cheapest quarterback on Fanduel anyway. So he just needs to do pretty well. Or they all have mediocre days. And then maybe your lineup construction is a little different. Again, what the fuck is Duke Johnson doing in the top optimal? That means his projection is too high for me. I just don't like him showing up there. So I'm going to, even though I've got the 5%, I'm going to throw a dislike on him. Allen, Singletary, Cook, Beasley, Brown. So an Allen, Singletary, Beasley, Brown triple stack. Thomas, Hollister, Sanders, Seahawks defense. Okay. Here's an Allen, John Brown with just a all-around mix of different players. Breeze, Ginn Jr., Thomas, come back with Thielen, Cook. Then you got Singletary, Goddard, Sanders. So these are nice little lineups. They're spending most of the cap. Secondary stack, Wilson, Goddard, Metcalf. Wilson, Metcalf, come back with Goddard and Ward with Singletary and Beasley. Now, I'm not seeing enough Thielen in my Russell Wilson stacks, and that is a problem. So I'm going to force 2. I want more Tyler Lockett than what I'm getting. So I'm just going to force 2, and it's going to force 2 of these guys in. And that'll do the job, basically. So, yeah, I'm going to change that. I didn't like the way that was looking. That's why you got to look at the lineups. Another guy who needs 2 with him is definitely Tom Brady. Tom Brady's not getting enough to win you a tournament by just throwing to one guy. So we need him. We need to miraculously figure out who the second guy is going to be. Changing my uniques to 3. I want to see if I can get a better spread of players. All right, let's see what we got this time. So what I've done, by the way, take note. You see over here, every time we do a different run, it now pops up so we can revert back by clicking on these and go back to a previous run of the. So let's say you make a run and you're like, oh, I like the previous one. I'm ready to use it. You go back, click it, and go back to it. So we got a lot of Breeze. We got a lot of Josh Allen. We got some Wentz and Wilson, Cousins, Brady, and Watson under-owned. We're way over on Dalvin Cook. Just checking the running back position to see kind of how that's shaping up. Carlos Hyde, I think I can raise this up a little bit more. You know, what I want you to do when you're making these lineups is consider like, all right, what are you going to be watching these games and like, oh shit, I didn't play Hyde and he's kicking ass. Like, think of those situations and say, you know what, play some Hyde. Get some exposure. You know, Hyde scores a touchdown. It could happen. And then you don't have him. You're like, fuck, I'm screwed. So, you know, get a little exposure to these guys. Yeah, they're turds, but who cares? Get some turd exposure. Look at the turds and make sure you're getting exposure to them. You know, we're loaded up on Dallas Goedert. Which other tight end can really do anything? It's possible that someone does. Maybe Hollister, Jared Cook, maybe. Rudolph, one of these guys is probably going to do something. Taysom Hill. All right, let's not think Anthony Firkser is going to, he ain't doing shit. But like one of these other guys is going to do something. So I'm just going to actually limit Goddard a little bit more. I want to get a little more of these other guys. So let's see what happens there. But I love Goddard, you know, so let's not go crazy. But yeah, I've got plenty of Houston defense, Dooley. Yeah, 75. Yeah. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Texans probably not going to put up a big number against Josh Allen, but the Bills can sack Deshaun Watson. Don't go 75%. I mean, it's a lot. It's a 2-gamer, 60%, 70%. Yeah. You know, go heavy on a lean. I think that New England defense is going to do great. I mean, I've got a lot of them, right? You know, I like the Eagles because they sack the quarterback and Wilson takes a lot of sacks. I like Seattle because Wentz can be a disaster sometimes. You know, Houston is really just because of what you said. You know, Allen's young and we don't know what he's going to do in a playoff game. Bills have looked pretty good, just a good defensive team overall. Saints, hey, we've seen with our own eyes Kirk Cousins have complete mental breakdowns. I don't really like the Titans very much, but you know, okay, I'll get a little bit, but I don't really like him too much. So there it is. What's up, Vincent? What's going on in Chicago, my man? So right now, here's where we're at. Got about 30% Breeze, 25% Josh Allen, and then 10% for most of the rest of the guys. Now, I might make some adjustments, but these are my two favorite quarterbacks as of right now. These are my second two favorites, but everybody who's on this list, I like a little bit. So I might adjust Breeze down. Sometimes having 30% of just one quarterback, maybe that's a lot. So we might make some adjustments to that. There's way too much Dalvin Cook here in a mediocre matchup, so going to do some adjusting there. What did I do? I raised his projection. I'm going to lower that down just a little bit. But I'm pretty much liking a lot of my distribution right now. Getting lots of Beasley and Brown, who I like a lot. Plenty of Thielen, who's underpriced. I'm just going to have exposure to him. Greg Ward gets a lot of targets. DK Metcalf is one of my favorites, super underpriced. So Julian Edelman, I like a lot. Going to even raise that, not enough. Tyler Lockett, I'm going to raise up a little bit, not getting enough of him. So we'll see if we can get a little bit more going. And then just mix it up. That's it. This is how we do it. Every one of you has a lot of work to do tonight. 2 gamers are easier to set up than 4 games. Turds are more important in 2-game slates. And on the 2-gamer, you can more comfortably leave salary on the table. Especially, just in general, in a 2-game slate, you can leave salary on the table, especially the Saturday one. So get to work. Guys, I'm going to shut it down here. 1 hour in. You got a pretty good look at how to set up the Dom Station. We're creating stacked lineups for the wildcard slate. I'm going to keep messing with my exposures. You guys do the same. The Geeks Picks cheat sheet is out. Any other questions, do them now. Hit me now. This is the time. So any other questions, hit me up. But if not, good luck this weekend. Let's crush these wildcard slates. I've had a lot of success with them in the past. I believe I won the wildcard, one of these tournaments, this one on Fanduel last year. Still remember it. I think I had Russell Wilson at the helm. I don't know why I have this memory of it. But I'm probably going to make some more adjustments to my exposures. A little more Wilson, a little more Wentz kind of thing. But Breeze really projects as the best guy. So we'll see what ends up happening. Just keep messing with my exposures a little bit. Try to get this figured out. And hopefully you guys will be kicking some ass this weekend, just like me. Again, FanDuel, DraftKings, penny games, quarter games, nickel games. There's lots of games to play. You don't have to put up the big bucks. DFS is not always about winning the big bucks. It's just about enjoying yourself, watching the games with a rooting interest. You start watching, you make adjustments. You got to line up with that's alive. And Brandon's going to ask me, White or Michelle? If I knew the answer, I'd be a millionaire. I don't know. On DraftKings, and DraftKings, Michelle is so cheap. If Michelle scores a touchdown, he'll probably be in a good spot. But that's what he needs to do. They don't throw to him. With White, it's pretty much the same thing. He needs to score a touchdown. Will he? I don't know. Could be Rex Burkhead. I don't have the answer to the mysteries of the Patriots running back situation. I accept it. I accept that I don't know. No idea. Accept it. Sorry. I wish I did know. I wish I had somebody I could call who could tell me. I don't know. All right, guys. Sorry, the energy level is not where it normally is. I've got a little bit of a throat thing going on here, so the talking is tricky for me right now. I love talking. Sorry, Brandon. Yes, man. I don't know. But Domination Station setup. You see, it's not hard. Just got to do, you got to pay attention to it. You got to go back, adjust. There's a lot of power at your fingertips here, especially the stack combo screen where you can limit combinations. No one has anything like this. It's really awesome. And if you use the full power of it, it really is going to give you a nice, beautiful mix of lineups that I think will lead you to good places and lead to good things. I hope. So let's see. DeAndre Hopkins. Am I getting enough Hopkins? Yeah, we're getting him. So I'm just going to keep looking through my stuff. Bobby Clinker, you're the beast. It's not me. to you. Guys, remember, if you want more of a breakdown of the slate itself, you can check out the Wolfpack pod. You can check out the Players Club pod. Check them both out. Love the Wolfpack. You got John, you got Bobby. That was an awesome one. I loved it. Players Club, broke it down again. I've done so much research on these 4 games. I don't even know. It's coming out of my ass. I don't know what to do with myself. Dooley, I haven't looked at the 2 games specifically, but I mean, stats, John said easily 500 leave on the table. And I could see more, especially on the Saturday one. If you want to really fade some of that high priced. It's harder to fade a lot on the full slate because Michael Thomas. But on the Saturday you could do it. Yeah, 501K. All right, guys, I'm shutting it down here. Good luck this weekend, everyone.